retirement accounts are a great way to build wealth, whether it be a 401k, 403b, thrift savings plan, whatever, IRA, anything you name it. It's a great wealth building tool. It's the way I'm building wealth is through my retirement account, and millions of Americans are becoming millionaires because of it, because they're investing their money long term into growth funds, growth mutual funds, stock options, 401ks that are growing through their years of working their life, and building up savings. And the reason why it works is some of the obvious reasons is it's a forced savings plan, right? You're forcing yourself to save money, is not easily accessible, right? So if you can't just transfer it to your checking account and pay a bill if you need it. So it's really not as easy to touch. So the likelihood of you touching it's slim. And you don't see it, right? If you don't see, you don't spend it. And that's really the beauty of it, is that you're just stacking away money, whatever you elect, you're putting it away for long term, and it's building wealth. Some of the things that I wanted to advise you on is not to start investing too much prematurely. What I mean by that is experts recommend 10 to 15% of your income should be put into 401k. I would say 15%. But what happens is if you start doing that prematurely and you're not liquid enough, when you have an emergency, or if you want to buy a house, or if you want to remodel your kitchen, those are some of the reasons why people borrow money from their 401k. And I would advise you to never, ever, ever borrow money for your 401k. And let me tell you why. Let's say you wanted to remodel your kitchen or buy a house and you didn't really save enough money on your own, so you're tapping into your 401k. $25,000. Let's say you took $25,000 for down payment or whatever you want, and you borrowed that. Obviously, you pay that over time, but you're not going to pay that so quickly. So what's going to happen is the $25,000 that was earning interest in your 401k will stop earning interest, right? You're going to pay yourself back interest, but it's so low. I mean, you're paying yourself back, 2% or something like that, where your mutual funds in your 401k could be earning 5, 10, 15, 20, 30% at a time. So you're losing on that growth. And if you take that $25,000 out today, 25 years from now, you have lost $250,000. In 30 years, that's close to $425,000 that you just robbed from your future self, right? That $25,000, you don't think about that now. You think about, buying that house or renovating or whatever you want to do with it. But there's a long-term consequence to borrowing from your 401k. Parents, listen to me. You have children going to college. Do not borrow from your 401k to fund your college, your children's college education. Don't do it. Don't do it. They will figure it out. If they have to, they'll get loans. I recommend you don't, but if they have to, they can get a loan. You cannot get a loan to retire. There's no retirement loan out there. You have to do it yourself. So if you're not doing it, no one's going to do it for you. So you have to stop this notion of just borrowing from your 401k whenever you don't have the money. So going back to what I said, don't do it prematurely, 10 to 15%. What I recommend you all do is pay off your debt. Pay off your debt, because the more debt you can pay off, the more money you can contribute towards your retirement. Before you start going crazy with your 401k and start putting 10 to 15%, have at least 3 months of your expenses in a savings account, separate from your checking. This is for emergencies only. The reason for this is that when you have a true emergency, you don't have to tap into the 401k. You don't have to rob from your future self. You can have this cushion there. You need to figure out how to stay liquid, right? Most of us are not liquid enough to get through these emergencies, right? And a lot of them are preventable if we just plan ahead and really force ourselves to save. So let's get a plan to get out of debt first. Start putting some money away into your emergency fund. Make sure you're liquid enough. Then go back and put 15% in your 401k and start building wealth. You'll see that 15% is not that hard, right? If you have no car payment, you have no credit card payments, you have no student loans, 15% is very, 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 very realistic. You can do it if you do those steps. The last thing you want to do is, try to do everything at once. That's what most people do. Most people just they put a little bit into savings, they put a little bit into their kids' college fund, they put a little bit into retirement, and they end up accomplishing nothing, right? Because they're focused on trying to do everything at the same time. We need to focus on one thing at a time. If you have some debt, focus on paying that off. If you have no liquidity, focus on saving $1,000, $5,000, whatever that is. Having that money there and being disciplined enough to keep that savings in there until you have a true emergency, right? A true emergency. And I'm not talking about Christmas, or a birthday or an anniversary. These things are not emergencies, right? These things are holidays and occasions and special events that happen every single year. Christmas comes every December 25th. Doesn't change any year. This year is going to be the same year, same day as last year. But what happens is we don't prepare. So guess what happens? We start putting on credit cards. The credit card becomes our emergency fund, and we start getting into more debt. And then we start playing catch up. Then we start taking our tax refunds and paying down debt. And instead of that going into your pocket, instead of you investing that money, instead of you putting money away from your children's college, you're paying down debt because you're not preparing for these moments. So what I recommend you do is, beginning of the year, figure out what your emergencies or special events or occasions will be, what your gifts are going to be for the year. And if you spend $1,000 a year on Christmas or $2,000 a year, let's say it's $2,000, then take the $2,000 divided by 12. Every month you're going to put whatever that is, $170 away every month. January, February, March, April, May to December, you're going to take $170 a month. Divide that by your paychecks if you're bi-weekly or weekly, and put that money in a separate account. You can't touch it. That's your Christmas fund. Same thing for your tires. Same thing for your glasses. Same thing for your medical expenses. You need to plan and prepare for these moments. So they're not emergencies. They're just, inconveniences of using your savings account. It's a big difference from having an emergency and having an inconvenience happen. Huge difference. So a lot of these emergencies that we call emergencies aren't really emergencies. They're just unplanned events. True emergencies, we need to have money in a liquid account, in a savings account. This will be not in your investments, not in a mutual fund. It will be in a low interest bearing savings account. Why low interest? Because we're not trying to make money on this money. This is money that we put away for insurance purposes, right? It's an insurance policy that you self-fund. Right? You have the savings there. You have this savings account for emergencies, only for emergencies, not holidays, not gifts. And we do that long term. You do this long term, you follow a plan, you will build wealth, right? Start paying off your debt. First, you got to believe that you can pay off the debt. Have a plan to pay off the debt. Then once you're debt free, whether it takes you 6 months or 6 years, you're debt free. Now you work on the next thing, build up your emergency fund. That emergency fund is built up, then you work on your retirement, right? Then you start paying your mortgage down. Then you start funding your children's education, right? In that order, right? We don't fund our children's education prior to us fully funding our 401k because, again, you cannot take a loan out for retirement. You can only, retire or not. That's the bottom line. And most people don't plan, right? They don't plan far enough to prepare for these events. They just live through their life and thinking that, your solution is making more money. Let me tell you something. If the answer was making more money, you would have figured it out a long time ago. Think about when you first started working, right? You made 20, 30, 40, 50,000. That at that time, you would say, oh, if I could just make 50,000. Then you make 50,000, and then what do you say? If I could just make 75,000, and it's never enough because our lifestyle continues to increase, things become more expensive, and making more money is most likely never the answer. You have to work with what you have. You have to live with what you have. You have to live in content, not trying to catch up with anyone else's lifestyle, not trying to catch up with anyone's vacation plans. You have to live within your means, right? Once you start there, living a life of content, having a plan, and then executing on this plan, you can begin to pay off debt and build wealth long term. So that's the solution. You can do it through a retirement account. Many people are building wealth every single day. People are becoming millionaires because they're doing it right, because they're learning how to put 15% away for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And that's going to build up, and that'll be their nest egg, right? If you do it now, you can really change your future dramatically. If you think about the compounding effect of just putting 15% away, and most of us just blow through 15% like it's water. But if we're strategic, we can really influence ourselves and also build a legacy for our children's children. But we have to do it right. This is why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor, because of principles like these that people learn, right? I wasn't born with it. I learned it, right? And you can too. Everyone listening to this message can build wealth. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. And ultimately, you have to believe in that. Because if you can't believe, it won't happen, right? You have to have a strategy on how to get there. And you have to know how you're going to get there. And if you don't know how to get there, then ask for help. It's okay to ask for help, right? We didn't all learn this in one day. It takes time. It takes you taking the time out of your day to learn these things. And really, we can't depend on someone else to make right decisions for us. We have to take responsibility to make sure that we're getting this information. We're taking the time to learn how to build wealth. We're taking time how to leave this to our children. We're learning it ourselves so we can pass this on. All right, so I'm passing on to you. Now your responsibility is to take action. Take massive action. Go do it. Go do it. And if you need help, feel free to reach out.